nobody. What am I getting myself into? It's Romania Black, and so a few weeks ago, it's on this channel. You can go check it out if you want to, but I used the magical wheel of fate, the wheel of causality on this channel to decide for Romania's Choice Fridays what series would replace the previous series, Delicious in Dungeon, which those reactions are amazing. You should go check them out. And I've had this series recommended for about a year now, Gunbuster. People were really recommending it at the start, being like, oh, it's a short series. It's just 6 episodes. You should watch it. It's great. It's from the 90s or the 80s or however it goes. You should watch it. And I was like, okay, a short series. It sounds pretty legit. And then I even had, during one of my unboxing, someone sent me not only the series, but the movie as well, right? So I've had these in my possession for quite some time. Now, I have come to realize that my current Blu-ray player does not allow screen capture, which since then people on Discord have told me some workarounds. So that's going to be kind of a summer project to figure out what to do on those. But in the meantime, I've had these for a while. Have I read the backs of them? No, because I wanted it to be a surprise and wanted it to be blind. But if I end up liking the series, I have the physical copies. Now, there is going to be a poll on Patreon for patrons next week. I am aware, just before y'all comment, I am aware that there is a sequel series that is also 6 episodes that came out much later than this one. I'm aware it exists. I'm going to be polling Patreon on how they want me to venture forth into this series, whether y'all want me to watch just these 6 episodes, whether you want me to watch the 6 episodes in the movie, whether you want me to watch the 6 episodes, the sequel series, whether you want me to watch all of the above, the 6 episodes, sequel series, and the movie. I'm going to have a poll on Patreon next week to ask those questions. So anyway, that's the goal, right? That's the goal. So, hopefully you all get a chance to vote in that. If you're on Patreon, you'll probably see it right after this post. So, but yeah, I'm excited. I know nothing about Gunbuster, but, the one thing I will say is, judging from the cover, these outfits look difficult to wear. So, it looks like a mecha series. Okay. It looks like a mecha series, and it looks like the women are dressed in outfits that are not practical, but we'll see where that goes. However, I do want to point out one thing, and one thing that concerns me a little bit as we go into this, and that's, I'm going to show y'all here in 3, 2, 1. There is a restricted content page on streaming saying, restricted content, please confirm that you are at least 18 years old and would like to enable mature content. I've never had this pop up for a series, and I've watched some pretty brutal stuff, and I'm like, I've watched some pretty gruesome things. This has never popped up on streaming, so okay. I'm a little concerned. But I was told in research that this passed Romania's like trigger test, so I can handle some pretty dark stuff. I've watched some pretty dark stuff. I only really have one trigger, and it's a very hyper-specific trigger, so I'm fine with anything else. I'm just a little bit concerned because that's never come up before on this channel with a series that I've watched on streaming, so okay. But anyway, I guess we're gonna find out. I'm gonna go ahead and I guess we're going to click here in a second and see. Oh, wow. It's going to ask for my password and everything. Holy cow. Oh, that's asking for quite a bit, actually. That's weird. Well, Anyway, I'm going to do the Japanese, of course. I know a lot of people will argue that the dub's better and blah, 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 but I am traditionally a sub person. My only thing is it going to give me, subs with this? Okay, good. It will. All right, good. So that's good. I was like, it's not giving me the option of subs, so that must mean they're only in English. So, all right. Well, I've made you wait long enough. We'll see how this is. I'm a little bit concerned, but we've only got 6 episodes, so what all are we going to cram in one? I guess we're going to find out here with Gunbuster episode 1 here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh boy. So, wow, we only have 6 episodes, so we're going to get through a lot. I'm glad we kind of just get to the point this episode. And on the surface, we're going to discuss this episode and go through it kind of bit by bit. If you're not familiar with my channel, after we watch the episode, in the link down below, we do go back through and kind of discuss the episode and things about it, my opinions and just thoughts and feels and all that good stuff, and where we think the story's going, and all that good stuff. And we'll just see with a series like this where we end up traveling with it, right? So I'm very, very intrigued. I am glad, like I said, that they don't waste any time. They just get to the point. They get to the conflict. Well, not really the conflict. We don't exactly know about these space monsters and what's happening and what's going on. We just kind of get a generic setup and, oh, we're going into space to fight the monsters. It's totes fine, and we'll just see when we go. Although the coach has clearly suffered. He lost an eye and, was physically disabled from his adventures in space. So they casually don't mention anything about that, but I guess it's, expected. You're going to fight space monsters. There's a risk that's involved. Her dad dies, in typical animated series fashion, there's just an unspoken off-screen matricide where we don't mention the mom at all. We don't mention the mother. However, her dad is, it says My Daddy by Noriko Takaya. So Noriko is our main girl who is in third grade. It shows her and her dad. He looks like he'd be a character in, Golden Kamuy. I haven't watched that series yet, but he looks like he would be a member of it. And where she's like, I think my daddy is a great man, which, she seems like a daddy's girl. She talks about him being a pilot in outer space. And it says Earth's first FTL space battleship is born. Commanded by Admiral Ryuzo Takaya, the Luxion proudly ascends into space. That's the incident they were talking about that happened. So he manages to go there. He tells me all the time that his ship is the fastest in the universe. I kept thinking of Berto from Dragon Ball Z. I'm the fastest in the universe. I've watched too much Dragon Ball Z abridged. But yeah, so interesting. All right, and then it shows him, my daddy is the captain of the battleship. So that's interesting. Her dad's the captain. He ends up dying. I do love the transition of him going from her saying she wants to be a space pilot as well, going to him. So she's like, I can go that way. I can go to space with him. And it cuts to his funeral picture. I thought that was really well done. That was a nice transition. And it was right after she said she wanted to be a pilot as well. And it's like, ooh, girl, do you? I don't know. Now, I did wonder for a hot second if she was going to die in space in these 6 episodes. However, I do feel slightly spoiled because the movie, I'm not going to look too closely at it, but the movie does clearly have her on the cover. So she's clearly a part of the movie at least. So we'll see where that goes with that. But that doesn't mean anything if you've watched series like Neon Genesis, which I draw a little inference in this from. Lots of things can happen in that amount of time. So 2015, cloudy and likely to rain. My father died today. It's crazy to think. It's crazy when you watch shows from a previous point in time, like the 90s, and they talk about the future as if the future is 2015. And for us watching this currently, that was a decade ago. So it's like, I always attribute it, when I always watch series like that, I'm like, okay, this is an alternate universe. And this is an alternate universe, unlike our own, but like our own, where in 2015 this was happening, right? It's kind of like an episode of Doctor Who. So it says, the first FTL fleet wiped out. Did the flagship Luxion go down? Communications cut 250 light years away towards Cygnus. So here's the thing. She is correct in that she doesn't believe her dad's dead, and now we know why. It's like they don't know what happened to the Luxion. They just know that they cut communication with them, and so they believe everyone's dead, but there's no confirmation. So that's interesting. So it could be that her dad is out, in space, and he could still be alive. His ship was attacked by space monsters. Okay. And then it shows like a bunch of ambulances there. It says 536 crew missing, 47 petty officers miraculously survive. So the coach was one of the ones that survived that they got to bring back, but over 500 crew are missing. I mean, that's enough to run a ship. So they could still be alive out in space. We don't know that. She says that that's what they said, but I don't believe them. So I guess the pictures there are of the men that survived are listed there. I know he's somewhere out there among the stars. Interesting. We see pictures of all them. A survey. And so then we have a survey form, career plan, aspirations, questionnaire. She's like, I'm going out there where my father is. The Okinawa Girls Space Pilot High School. I'm going to be a space pilot as well. I kind of like that. Japan's known, I've read a little bit of the manga. I've not watched the anime series yet, but the manga series Silver Spoon, that takes place at an agricultural high school. So there are specific high schools in Japan that are just for certain majors and certain occupations. So I think it's kind of fun that you have like, oh, a space pilot high school, all these girls, and it's, it's specifically an all girls school. They're all training to be space pilots as well. Imagine that. So I kind of like that. I think that's a cool little play on the Japanese education structure and making it like futuristic. So that's fun. So she applied, and then we have our fade out, and then we have Japan showing there, and then space, all that good stuff. And we have a Gunbuster, the OP happening here, which luckily I'm glad the OP mainly seems to draw from the episode itself, which maybe it'll change it up as it goes on. We'll see. So episode 1 is called, Whoa, Big Sis and I are going to be pilots together. I'm like, is this a Yuri from the male gaze? It kind of feels like it. It kind of feels like it a little bit. Which we're going to talk about. I'm going to get in there. Okay. So we're going to talk about this. I do ascribe to the fact this is a Yuri from the male gaze, which is fun. So I love that I mentioned Dead or Alive, which is the volleyball game where women's bodies are highly sexualized. I played it a lot when I was a kid because it was like the only one out there for reasons. But there was a volleyball net and an all-girls school training to be pilots. You think of like Baywatch and the outfits, because the outfits on here are like 90s Street Fighter, apparel. And so I'm like, okay. But then we cut to this opening scene and it's like, yes, that's exactly what it is. I like the idea of, it does seem silly on the surface of the robots doing the push-ups and the robots doing all of the activities that the girls are doing. However, I do appreciate the fact that it is talking about, it basically talks about the women have to know how to control the robots and how to function in a battle. So it needs to kind of be integrated where you can act just like a person just in this shell. So it would make sense for you to be able to organize the body and be able to run the machine that same way that you would yourself. So fun times, right? Fun times. So anyway, I like this opening sequence here where they're all just like roaming around doing push-ups, and then they get onto, they're even building like a pyramid. They're doing like cheerleading. And then poor Noriko, our poor girl Noriko, she just aspires to be in the same position they are. Kimiko is her friend with the glasses, and she is the stereotypical bestie with glasses. I think of, even without glasses, I think of Molly from Sailor Moon. I think of Wakaba from Revolutionary Girl Utena. There's always that bestie that she's not like one of the main characters, but she's the supportive bestie character that's always by the main character's side. And you need somebody like that, right? Which I like that. So I felt a lot for Noriko in this because Noriko, it's not her fault that her dad is a captain that was well known and ends up dying tragically. And so she gets, shuffled. And, it feels kind of like, it felt very much like Legally Blonde in this first episode where Reese Witherspoon's character, Elle, is like, she wants to apply to Harvard. And so everybody like kind of, I'm not saying she gets shuffled into the school not because of her grades. She works hard, has the grades. She just, isn't as talented as some of the other Harvard grads, but she's still well enough off that she deserves to be there like they do. So that's fun. That's cool. So I like that they showcase that she did get there. Now, whether they just let her in or not because of her name, she's not responsible or in control of that, but she does believe she deserves to be there like everyone else. And she's not, the thing about Noriko's character is she's not touting around saying, well, I'm the former admiral captain's daughter, I deserve whatever. No, she's just trying to be a normal girl accomplishing her dream to go find her father out in space. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, she instantly has a crush and idolizes the girl who has everything, as you know. And so we'll get her name again here in a second. It's escaping me, but we'll get it. I think it's Asano. We'll get it. But yeah, our girl is a Virgo, so she's detail oriented, you know. But I like the little tidbit of Kimiko keeping track of the horoscopes. That was really fun. So they got a new coach. They're all training out there, just doing like it feels like a sports anime. It feels like a camp, like a baseball camp. There's a soccer field. They're doing exercises. Now, you know, half of them are running around in these skirts that are very impractical for athletic training, and then the other half are roaming around in 1990s, like, it reminds me of The Substance, because you just gotta watch The Substance, but wearing the gym gear that, I'm sorry, we're gonna just get this out of the way. It was the 90s. It was a different time. But the thing is, there is a thing called the male gaze. And we have to bring it up because I have a feeling it's going to come up in this series a lot. So we might as well just talk about it right now and talk about the male gaze. And the gaze is a perspective in which we look at the characters, in which the audience, it takes into account what it presumes about the audience, how it presents characters, their appearances, how it presents what is focused upon through, and the gaze itself, G-A-Z-E or G-A-Z-E, depends on the perspective the author is trying to hit with their target audience, right? So, for example, if you have a scene with an elderly couple in it and you know your audience is elderly, then you may try to show certain aspects that would appeal to that audience, right? If you have a show for kids, you will primarily focus on the kid actors because they're relatable to your audience, et cetera, et cetera. There's a reason for it. So TV tropes is where I'm looking at because there's a lot of different places you could go to find this. But TV tropes talks about how the male gaze is a form of gaze. It arises from the assumption that the audience is mostly comprised of straight males who will in turn, you know, there's female fan service that's involved to appease said audience. Now, that is an assumption that is assuming that the audience is primarily male. And I think shonen manga ascribe to this quite heavily at times, which I will call them out for it every time because I'm like, that's not all of your audience, just what you're assuming your primary audience is. Gunbusters, we might have to check that out here in a second. But as TV Tropes points out, it says the usual result of male gaze is the way a usually male director and or cameraman's interest in women's shapes his shots, leading to a focus on breasts, legs, buttocks, and other jiggly bits, as they say, quote unquote, even when the film isn't necessarily supposed to be a feast for the eyes of their admirers, though most of the time this can indeed be intentional. So the term applies in other media such as video game and comic books, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It said during the dark age of comic books, perfect examples of the male gaze were scenes that were framed to show off a woman's curves over everything else. And it does sometimes focus on male attributes, focusing on big pumping biceps, perfect abs, but crucially in a way that is sexless and aspirational. The presumed male audience is intended to relate to the character being objectified in this way and wish they had that body themselves rather than desire the character. That's kind of the primary difference with the gaze, is that in a gaze, whether it's the female gaze or the male gaze, the idea is that how a character is presented, if your audience is of the same sex as that character, then the way they are presented is aspirational and desirable, but not sexually. Whereas the other opposite sex is presented in a sexually desirable way. So I'm not saying this is all a big to-do to say that, you know, the coach so far has not been presented in a way such as that. He seems like a normal dude. He has his sweet aviators, his Tom Cruise appearance, and he seems just like he's just barking orders, you know, like a coach does. So he's not really through the male gaze, or even the female gaze. But the way that Noriko is presented, the one thing that got me this entire episode were her breasts. Because they were perky, they were bouncing, and it was distracting. Like every time she moved, it was like her breasts jiggled as she moved, and I was like, has this animator actually watched women walk like before? Also, have you seen real boobs? Because I'll tell you right now, unless there's some plastic surgery involved, they are not that perky. Gravity does something, even if you're a teenage girl. I can tell you that from experience. So I was like, oh man. And it was just noticeable. And one thing is, if you've studied rhetoric or you've studied film studies or any type of media where you've been inundated to know that once you see it, you can't really unsee it. It wasn't gratuitous. It wasn't bad. But like, for example, the workout outfits they're wearing, the shirt is fine, but the leotard they're wearing, and I know they were designed for women in the 90s like that, but there have been lots of articles published post 90s about kind of the objectification through fashion that happened during the 90s with that. Like the side splits and everything. There is nothing comfortable about that, nor practical. It's just to kind of sexualize the body, and it's for the male gaze. Like, women did not design those outfits for the purpose of comfort and logistics. So it's just worth pointing out because this is from the 90s. 'Twas a different time. It is probably going to come up again. But yeah, these girls and their perky boobs, I'm like, okay. Even if you're a teenager, they're not that perky, I hate to tell you. But whatever. It's an animation choice. But like whenever she walks, she sticks them boobs out and does that. I'm like, okay. Which, you could argue and say a male character having his chest puffed out and everything. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm bracing myself for what they possibly will do with the ladies and their appearances in this. But I will say, I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's probably going to be along those lines, and that's fine. Just as a female viewer, I feel like it's important to point it out because usually reactors are just like, we're not going to talk about it, and that's not how I roll. So I'll point it out. It's fine. I don't mind it. It just is noticeable. Now, I really love, is it Asano? Is that our big sis? Is that who it is? She's so pretty. Like, she instantly has like the look. She has the really dark hair. She's super tall. She's super really pretty. She says, what's her name? Yep, Noriko. And she says that her name is, okay, she's like, well, you're the Admiral's daughter. How about that? Who knew? And she says she's sorry that her dad was lost. And of course, I love Noriko's reaction where she's like, oh, it's fine. It's in the past and all. That part was a little funny where she just immediately dismissed her dad's death because I'm like, she still believes her. But maybe it's because she still believes her dad's alive. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why she's like not as a little bit more cavalier with it because she thinks her dad's still alive out there. So Big Sis tells her that steering the machine is easiest when you focus on the feedback from the balancers along with your hands and feet. And Noriko makes the point of saying that it's hard for her to do it all at once. She's like, I just would rather focus on my instincts and go that route. So, which the coach seems to think that her relying on instinct is going to be what sets her apart and makes her successful. Which the one girl kind of talks about. She's like, once I find my body simply does what it needs to do, it all falls into place. And again, Noriko says, well, you must be a prodigy. And she's like, not at all, I assure you. I kind of like that about her. She says that, I worked really hard. I'm smart and I'm adaptable, but I worked really hard to get where I am. And we see that by the end of the episode. So yeah, she's like, everyone falls on the first day, myself included. You just have to work hard enough and then you'll get to where I am. And then she gives her like the little wrap on her wrist to tie her hair back, which, is super cute. I love it. And Noriko clearly has a crush on her and it's adorable. The best day of my life. Aw, you know what? If this turns out to be a Yuri between the two of them, I will be super, super happy. Okay, so the one girl, is it Kashiwara? We'll get her in here. She looked like was it Android 17 that has like the big widow's peak? And she looked like a Dragon Ball Z character with she has like these hairpins that almost look like microchips or something pinning her hair back. Crazy talk. Like, what? Wild. But yeah, they've gathered everybody there. So it's been 6 years since the Lexion tragedy. So basically, this story is taking place in 2021 in their standards. Not too far off from the current timeline. I like that we've color-coded our robots to all be in a line as such, and she's in one of the red ones. So there's a boys' division off in another school that has picked out 2 candidates for the mission, and they all believe that, you know, who's going to go with the sister, and they're like, oh, they're not going to pick you. You're a dork. And they say that, well, they talk about the new coach that's coming in. They say, okay, Kashiwara is the one that's a shoo-in. The new coach is a commander, and he's from the ship that survived. He was transferred here specially. So then we see him show up on the motorcycle, the Cub bike, getting that product placement in. He looks a lot like Kaji from Neon Genesis. He's just a little bit more abrasive than Kaji was, which is fine. And honestly, here's like the test. This is going to be my test of, is this, you know, any different based on how the character is? Although, I'm going to preface this. I'm going to talk a little bit about Neon Genesis for a hot second, because the coach spouts a lot of stuff where he's just like talking wisdom and saying like, she's perfect for this experiment, and we've been waiting for a girl like her, and, you know, basically all the chosen one narrative stuff that you need. I'm not totally convinced. There's a part of me that thinks that Noriko is being chosen for a project that's she's going to be scapegoated into. I could be wrong. We'll see where that goes. But his abrasiveness with her specifically, I had to kind of reel myself back and be like, is he, you know, being like, come on, little lady, get up, get in gear? Or would he do that despite her sex or who she is? So in my head, I was going, well, imagine if he was like talking to Shinji from Neon Genesis. Would he say the same thing? Probably. Although sometimes Shinji from Neon Genesis gets called effeminate and discounted for that reason. So you make that what you will. But he's fine. I like the coach. He's a bit over stoic, but we'll see where that goes. He feels like he has such a wall put up that I want to see that wall break down. I'm also curious if they're going to try, like for me, I would love for Noriko and the one sis to develop a relationship. However, in my brain, I'm like, are they just going to have like the one girl and the coach develop a relationship? Because that seems like a weird age gap and a weird thing, but they have moments together in this episode that I'm like, are they going to try to push this 17-year-old girl with this like 28-year-old guy and we're going to be okay with that? I don't know, because both of them were giving off like Kaji Masato vibes, and I'm like, I don't know. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, so they take off the balancers so that they have to rely manually. Also, the Panasonic megaphone is a lot of fun. Love that product placement there too. But then yeah, Noriko is trying to figure out what to do. She can't control things. It's not working out right. Nothing's going her way. And the coach notes this, but realizes that maybe she's like her dad. My favorite was when he brought the remote up from the bottom of the screen. It looked like something you'd see in like an abridged series where they bring like a gun up from the screen. It was really funny. But yeah, he makes her run laps. I liked that they said the school day is over now. They cut to the next scene. Students still on campus should leave as soon as possible. And then there's like a little thing on the locker that says keep the locker room clean. Even the boys don't trash theirs up this bad. Well, that's just sexist. Girls can be slobs just as much as boys can, actually. Oh my God, all the product placement in this one moment is amazing. Also, man, back in the day, I'm wondering if they got any product placement money, because there was like Pepsi right out front and center. Coca-Cola, like not even caring to like hide it. It was like, nope, there it is. So maybe they did get product placement. Who knows? But Noriko is like completely done for the day. And so she goes back to her room. There's a portrait of her dad. I love the phone. Just the classic phone. And they call her in. I do like that she has like, it looks like the Chaplin brothers, which is weird. But then she has like the Magical Girl poster. And again, if we're talking about the male gaze just a wee bit, when she gets up on the pillow to answer the phone, it's just like boobs front and center, right? But then they tell her that she's been selected. This part sucked. This part was hard. I was like, damn, I felt so bad for Noriko. Because Noriko, it wasn't like one of those situations where Noriko expected to get chosen and everybody was like, you suck. Why would you get chosen? And then she did. Amano. Yep, Amano. There we go. So it's Kazumi and Noriko. So Kazumi and Noriko. Kazumi, Amano, and Noriko. So it's not like Noriko was actively trying to get selected and she was touting to everybody that she would. She just said it'd be nice if it happened, but she wasn't being like bossy or snooty about it and then got picked. No, she was fully prepared to not get selected, and then they chose her and Kazumi, and everybody was real pissed about it, being like, oh, well, it was because her dad was the captain of the fleet that got wiped out. They're like, it's just nepotism. And then they made it even worse. It wasn't just nepotism that they said it was. They're like, well, you saw her yesterday. She's the coach's pet. And they were like, gross. What'd she do to land this, do you think? Can't let being the daughter of defeat get in the way of winning Big Sis over, huh? Like, it just really sucks because she gets really sad about it because she's like, no, I didn't do any of that. And like, I feel so bad for Big Sis being partnered with the daughter of defeat like this. And clearly, Kazumi is kind of sad. She wanted to be Kashira that was joining as well, right? I like that her one friend stays by her side being like, it's going to be okay. But I don't blame her for getting sad because she's like, you know, I don't understand why I was chosen. And then the girls train with machines, but just for a month. Were you to ask me, Kashiwara should be the one going to space. So the question is, okay, did she hear all of this? Right? I love this coach just staring at the window through the blinds. I've heard that girl is Admiral Takaya's only daughter. Is that why you picked her? And then, of course, he like turns around and has the eye. He's like, I'm a survivor from the Lexion, captained by that admiral. Uh-huh. And she's like, is that the reason that you picked her? And he's just like, fool, you don't know anything. You're just a lady. It's like, God. And he's like, the RX project is more important than you realize. The one thing about the coach is that he spouts a lot of cryptic things, but then doesn't explain anything to her. And she's like, well, I'm going to be partnered with her, so I might need to know this. But he's just like, nah. Especially with humanity's continued existence at stake. I'm like, well, maybe you should explain to her kind of why this is important. And then she's like, well, then why don't she's being reasonable and is like, well, why don't you answer me and let's talk about this? And he's like, this is my decision to make. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you're going to be one of those guys, aren't you? Cryptic. She's like, I wish you'd explain this, please. The Buster machine. So the series is called Gunbuster. So I'm guessing that Noriko is going to fight with the Gunbuster. And she's like, okay, this coach is a survivor from my dad's ship. What are we going to do? I love that little intermission card. Gunbuster. Man, it sucks what they do to her, like paper and everything, and her getting traumatized by it. Where she's like, I got to be selected to be a pilot because of my dad. Which she feels obviously guilty about because it's nepotism. And she's like, that's not what I wanted. And then the slurs are like singular, just one, fuggo, die. Go back to Osaka, disgusting, stupid, pig, idiot, using your connections, aren't you ashamed? And this says, one machine is not like the other. Coaches must like the benefits. Which I hate that. Again, it reminds me of Legally Blonde, where Elle's character is accused of getting favors from the head lawyer. And she's like, no, I was not. So I felt really bad for her. It sucks. And she's like, what can I do? I hate this. I like the one friend is like, you know, your horoscope's revealing that this is kind of expected this week. But she's like, if they're going to send you on this mission, you should probably practice so you can move the machine, right? And she's like, sure. And then they get to the machine. It says, stupid, idiot, die, go back to Osaka, dumbass, baby, bonehead, dick, asshole, scum, hate you. I like the one they put dick on there. I'm like, this is an all-girls school. Coach's pet, cheater, stupid, must be nice, bum. Defeat ex-coach, because they call her the daughter of defeat. Audi and coach's use. Oh, the coach's use is really... So on there, they draw like an arrow, and it says coach's use, and it draws to like where the vagina of the machine would be. I can see why this is 18 and over now. And then they have, they drew boobs on the robot and then drew stained, like he'd like cummed over them or something. Ooh, buddy. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't blame her for feeling bad about all this. Like, she's a teenage girl and you've just been like completely ostracized and made fun of in front of all your peers. Like, I would feel horrible. I'd feel terrible. And she even tries to like get in there to operate it. And like the one friend's like, hang in there. Like, what do you say to that? And then she sits down and sits on the tack. Meanwhile, Fivehead, Kashiwara and her like side hustle over here with the green hair, they put tacks in the seat. And poor girl, like that sucks. She's like, I can't take it anymore. So then she like, I'm glad she actually confronts the coach and she's like, why did you do this? Clearly, I don't have a lot of talent. What's the deal? I'm struggling. Why would you make it worse for me? And his response, where she's like, she's really sad. She's really sad and having a distraught moment and is being traumatized by her peers. And his heartfelt response of support is, did you get that all out now? There's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in Gunbusters. And I get it. They're going into space. They're going to be battling monsters. You can't be sitting there sobbing the whole time. But in the same vein, you're doing this in a short period of time to this girl without any explanation. And then, his answer to her, rather than answering the question, he does like a politician move. Instead of just telling her why he chose her, he takes her out to go watch Kuzumi. And she's sitting there running with weighted sandals. And he's like, what you're doing is you're not practicing hard enough. Forget about talent. He's like, your dad's talented, so you must be talented too. Why aren't you running up the stairs with weighted ankle braces? You just got to work harder. He's like, you need to go into space with a mono. I felt, again, in that moment, I was kind of like, okay with this speech. But then I thought to myself, is this the kind of speech that Gendo or Kaji would be giving to Shinji? Yeah, basically. So, yeah, she gets up at 4 a.m., which is wild. Starts to run with the sun coming up. Trains. Thank God this man showed up to teach her the ways. She wouldn't have figured out to do hard work on her own. I mean, she would have. We all know she would have. But I guess he'll take credit for it. Whatever. But anyway, she gets where she's doing the basics, which is fine. And then the one, Kashiwara, she's mad. She asks why she doesn't get to go. Why it has to be her. He does not feel the need to tell her the same thing that he told Kuzumi, though. And then she gets out. I like the tech of this soap bowl on top of the... I guess maybe it's not on top of the faucet. It's just beside it, actually. And then she challenges her to a match, which I liked. It was actually hilarious when the coach is standing there being like, well, you're probably going to get beat up in space, so what are you going to do about it? Clearly did not go and get his teaching degree. Which is fine. He's not wrong. They are going to have to battle in space. It's just how the bluntness of it all is so it's very anti, mentor from other anime where the other mentors are like, you can do it, Noriko. You can get it. Just tap into this potential. And meanwhile, this coach is just like, yeah, she's going to kick your ass if you don't do something. He's not wrong. Now, the one last part about the male gaze I will mention is that when we get inside the battleship, again, just the focus on her body and the way that the frame goes and the way it goes up to her in her heaving bosoms, it's fine. It's just it's okay. It just is very noticeable. And it's like, all right, male gaze, how you doing? Again, you could have done a different angle and it would have been fine. But she does manage to tap into that deep reservoir of chosen one narrative potential and then gives her a swift... The triangular punch fails and she gives her a swift Inazuma kick right to the chest that knocks her out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and of course, Kazumi's like, "You mastered the Inazuma kick," and Noriko's like, "I mastered the Inazuma kick." I really like Noriko. I like Noriko a lot as a protagonist. I really appreciate her. She's super fun. She's super nice. She's super relatable. Girl goes through shit in this episode, which sucks for her. She also has this innocent lamb vibe, though, that I'm like, ooh, are you going to have a lot of bad stuff happen to you over the course of these next 5 episodes? And I like Kazumi, too, but she's really level-headed, and I like that about her, so we'll see. The one thing is, the one girl by the end of it, after she got her ass kicked, was totally fine with them leaving. And they take off on the Japan Airlines. I like the coach just sits there contemplating his existential life crises, maybe taking a nap, and then Kazumi is reading a book, and Noriko's just excited to be on a plane. Bless her. She looks like the most innocent bean when she turns around. Like, she's so excited. But yeah, they're going off into space to aim for the top. We'll see how that goes. I do like the ED a lot. The ED's super cute. I love the style of it. It's great. Love it. I want to know the voice actors of the main cast, the main 3 that we've gotten so far, to see what we've got here. So we're, Noriko is voiced by Noriko Hidaka, which is fun. She's 62 now. She's been in a lot of things. Oh, buddy. From way back in the day. Okay, she voices Nier in Death Note. That's interesting. Okay, cool. All right, she's Belmir in One Piece. All right. And she voices the Dominator in Psycho-Pass. Well, that's fun. That's really cool. And she's Fang Ming in Apothecary Diaries. Look at her. I kind of love that somebody from way back, like Gunbusters. When did it come out? The Gunbusters in here is from what year have we got on here? Because I kind of want to know. I'm assuming it's really far back. I want to see where Gunbusters was on here, but why is it being annoying for me? Show me Gunbusters. Maybe it's because I know the other one is from earlier on. Oh, there we go. From 1988. Oh, these are from 88. Oh, bless. This is from the year I was born. We're not even in the 90s. This is from the year I was born. Holy shit. Okay. Well, that makes a lot more sense. So, yeah. Okay, wow. So she's been voice acting since the 80s. That's incredible. Like 37 years later, she's still in anime. That is so wild. Okay, so Kazumi is voiced by Rei Sakuma, who has been voice acting since the 80s, which is so interesting. Oh, I like that she was in the original Ranma 1/2 from the late 80s, and now she's in like unnecessary Mappa remake. So, so cool. Good for that. Oh, she's Marianne in Trigun. That's fun. Okay, so Kazumi's in that. That's cool. Has she been in anything recently? Maybe not recently, but okay, cool. Nice. That's fun. She was in Trigun. That's a fun time. Cool. The fact that she's in the Ranma remake is okay. So then we have the coach. The coach is by Norio Wakamoto. Okay, who has been in stuff since the 70s. Wow, he was in the original Rose of Versailles. He's in Legend of Galactic Heroes. I'm not surprised. He seems like he was in a lot of 80s and 90s anime. He just has that type of voice. He was Goffsef in Trigun. Fun times. He's been in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What else? He's been in Sergeant Frog. I do like that series. Hellsing Ultimate. Oh, he was Anderson in Hellsing Ultimate. That's interesting. Okay. What has he been in recently that I would know? Not anything. He's 79 now, though. So, you know, that it's been a while. Is there anything recent? He's been in Dragon Ball Z. He was Cell in Dragon Ball Z Kai. Cool. Awesome. Well, that's fun. Okay. Interesting. He was in a lot of stuff in the early 2000s and 90s, so not, not surprising. That's all I'll look at for now, but yeah. Okay, so this is from 1988. That makes more sense now. So we're going to be evaluating this show as a time capsule piece because it's from the late 80s. Like I said, I want to bring up the male gaze because gender studies is something I studied in college, and it's important to me. And as a female viewer, it's important to call those things out because they exist and they do have impact on how people view women and society and lots of fun stuff. But I will say this. Other than her boobs defying gravity and being at the forefront of a lot of shots with her, that's about it. Otherwise, it's pretty harmless. So we're going to make sure it stays that harmless, right, show? That 18 plus rating. We'll see about that, but I'm excited. I can't believe we only have 6 episodes with this main series, so I feel like they don't waste any time. We're going to immediately get into it, and that's exciting to me. But if you are over on Patreon watching this, as I post to Patreon, I'm going to be telling you all right now, as I look on here, that there is a poll that is going to be taking place that is going to ask if you would like me to just do this 6-episode series or what else that you want to ask me to do. It's going to be on there. So just go check that out if you want to, or at least see what we voted on if the poll has already ended. But anyway, I'm excited to see what's going to happen with the series. I hope you all are as well. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'm back again real soon, and we'll check out episode 2 of Gunbuster. Bye.